Yeah, I just wanted to touch on a subject regarding the bean eye. Everyone's going on about how hard they are to keep and all that sort of thing. I wouldn't recommend them if it's like your first cichlid or something, because they can be a bit temperamental in the sense that they don't do well being moved about. They don't do well under stress, and if your water parameters aren't too good, yeah, then I wouldn't. And also as well, if you're using tap water, you need to see what your pH and that's like. But you know what I mean. If you like just follow certain basics, you won't really go wrong with them. The main problem I've found, and I've tried it by actually doing tests with fish that like bean eye that I'd bred, where I had so many of them, I could afford to be able to, you know what I mean, find out what it was that causes them to bloat. And while there's no definitive answer for that, the only thing I've found out, everyone says, oh, you've got to keep them in cool water and all that. I mean, this tank's at 82 degrees. Yeah, it always stays at that. And so I don't, all that thing about them being in, what's it called, them being slow growers and all that. Yeah, that's because people keep them in water that's too cold. And I know in the wild, at night time, the water drops because they're from Mexico. The water does drop actually, from what I can find out, into the 50s, or high 50s, 58, 59. Obviously, that's with wild caught fish. But I mean, when they're captive bred, yeah, then obviously it's a bit different. So the main thing is, the only bits of advice I'd say regarding bean eye is obviously stay on top of your water changes. But I mean, you don't have to be over the top. Like, I mean, I know it's like a tank size is obviously bigger is always better, and with a lot of fish like dovey and that, water changes, the more you do, like obviously normally the better. But what they don't do well with bean eye is big swings in parameters. So if I was to do like a 75% water change, yeah, the difference that's going to be from where I've got bogwood in the tank and all that, that's dropping the pH on the water anyway. So you've got to think, I only do a water change on these once a week normally. Sometimes I'll hit them every 5 days or something, but on average, it's normally every 7 to 10 days these get a water change. And all I do is 25%. Yeah, I do 50-50 RO and tap water. I mean, you can keep them in tap water depending on what your tap water's like. But like I said on another video, my pH is like 8.6, so it's way too high. So by the time I've got these in there with the wood and everything else, my pH is sitting around 7.2, 7.3, something like that. So yeah, but as you can see, that is what I have in any tanks now with fish that are that don't do well in anything other than really like sort of quite pristine water, is these hydro streams, and I swear by them. Do you know what I mean? It's like using Purigen, but even better, and you don't have to, you know what I mean, open your filter up to see whether it's working, like whether it's no good anymore or not. Because I never ever used Purigen like until last year, and because what I always used to do was just have really good biomedia, really mature, and then that was all right. But the slightest little thing that goes wrong, you get an ammonia spike or something like that, then fish like this don't do well. You know what I mean? Or nitrite, especially nitrite, ammonia and nitrite. Nitrate's not too bad, but yeah, nitrite and that. And apart from that, I don't quite know how it works, because I know you can lower the TDS in salt water with a protein skimmer, but I didn't believe there was anything that actually lowers your TDS with fresh water. But this does. I mean, I can actually show you. I've just done a water change earlier, and that's the water you can see from the colour of it from the bogwood. But yeah, when I put it in, it's like about 120 the TDS, and when I checked this earlier, it was 57. So it's actually gone down, as opposed to, you know what I mean. And this, I hadn't done a water change on this tank in 10 days, so that's the longest I've ever left them without doing a water change. But yeah, so then they're not as bad as what people make out. They're not. But all I'll say is when you get them, get the tank that they're going to stay in for good, and just put them in there and don't move them again, and you'll be fine. And it's the same thing about, oh, only giving them a couple of pellets a day each and shit like that, or skipping days and all that. Literally, I power feed these. I mean, I have to, because the silver dollars are so fast and greedy. Otherwise, they end up getting most of the pellets. So, yeah, I mean, I feed them every day. I feed them as I do any other cichlid. So I've never had a problem like that. As I said, the only time I've ever had problems with bean eye has been when I've moved them from one tank to another, and then they've bloated and died. And yeah, that's the only thing that I can think of really. It's just stress. I mean, I couldn't. I'm no ichthyologist, so I wouldn't. You know what I mean? Turn around and say 100% it's this or that. But from doing experiments on different tanks and different parameters, everything else, they seem to accept quite a wide range of water parameters down. So the lowest I've kept them in is 5.5, and that was where it is majority majority RODI water and a bit of tap water. But I was just seeing what they will tolerate, and they seem to tolerate the lower pH better than they do higher, which is, I know it's strange for a Central American, but yeah, that's what they seem to do all right with. But yeah, my tap water around here is terrible. It really is crap. But yeah, where it comes down from in Kent is water up there. Because when he brought fish down before, I tested it just to see, like, you know what I mean, what his water was like. And his water was like 7.3 or 7.4, which this is what I keep these at. And you know what I mean, it's perfect for bean eye. But yeah, so really you need to know if you're going to be using tap water, because it is a pain in the arse. If you haven't got an RO unit, which I don't, I'm on a water meter, so I don't bother. I literally, there's no point either. There's a place that you can go to in the UK where they charge £1 for a barrel, and this spotless water is called. It's what all the window cleaners and that use, and there are filling stations all around the place. And even when the COVID lockdown was going on, you could just go there. You get a entry code for one of them storage lock-up places. You go there, put the code in, you go in, fill your water up, and then come out of there. But I get 2 barrels every week for these, so it costs me £2 a week. And then I put 2 barrels of tap water in as well. I'll do 1 barrel. I put in 1 barrel of RO, then 1 of tap water, then 1 of RO, then 1 of tap water, because obviously you don't want to drain I drain 25% out, well, just under that, and then I'll put in 100 litres back. I'll take 100 litres out, put 100 litres back in. So yeah, it's less than 25. It's probably about 20% actually. But yeah, so yeah, you don't want the big, as I said, you don't want the big swinging parameters of pouring just RO in that's got really, really low pH, or just pouring the tap water in, because then you'll get you know what I mean, a swinging pH. And another thing I'll say as well is you want to make sure you're on top of like your gravel vacuuming and that, because that's where you end up getting like nitrite spikes from, when they stir up the shit at the bottom. So well, this one's overrun a bit, sorry about this, but I'm trying to keep them short and sweet now. But yeah, these are definitely by far, I know I said like these Lana are one of my favourites. Yeah, this is probably my all-time favourite cichlid. I've waited to get these for so long. I've had them before I had the San Pedros or the Rio Blancos, and that was when I first got back into the hobby, and I had a couple of them bloat on me. Well, out of the 10, I lost 3 to bloat, and that was again, I had so many tanks at the time that I'd keep getting more and more different species and that. And as you see, I keep species only tanks. I don't really mix fish normally, unless it's like a dumping tank that I just use to keep spare females for different. Because I normally, what I'll do is, where a lot of the fish I keep are hard on females, I'll keep a spare. And like with the Cubans, with the bean eye, I used to do that. But yeah, so I ended up moving them around from tank to tank. And then that's when every time I'd move them, they'd bloat. But the person who I had that was giving me advice at the time on them, who was saying to me, no, do this, do that, and basically it was like they're deliberately, I don't know what it is, some people get jealous, I suppose, because they like to be the only person that is successful at certain things. So, you know what I mean, when I look back on things now, like I was being deliberately fed the wrong information. But yeah, since I've followed certain, stuck to certain things, I've not had any problems with these whatsoever. But yeah, I lost one a little while back when the original, I got, I think it was 5 of them when I got these. I sold some and I lost one because, like I said, I moved, when these 2 formed as a pair, I took the others out, and I had another pair and a spare, and I ended up selling the other pair, and then I had the spare. And when I moved the spare into another tank, because I had a member of another species, and in my dumping tank, like not the other pair, sorry, I had the spare female that I had. There's a video on here on YouTube. I put it up there saying that I'd lost it, but yeah, it was a spare female. So I moved that into another tank, and it just bloated. So it is definitely stress, because when you're draining the tank around and having to chase it around with a net and all that, they don't do well at all. But yeah, all the thing about cold water, all the thing about overfeeding them, and having to do water changes, huge, ridiculous water changes. I'd say the opposite. Don't do huge water changes with these, even if you're using RO and that, because, as I said, it's not as simple as, oh, you're putting in 50% RO and 50% tap water, and it's the exact same. Because if you've got bogwood and all that in there, then obviously your pH drops throughout the week anyway. So unless either keep no bogwood in now, yeah, and then you could just have RO and make sure none of the rocks, do you know what I mean, affect your pH either. Yeah, but as long as everything's in that, then it'll be fine. Do you know what I mean? But I still wouldn't recommend doing loads and loads of water changes on these. I'd literally do it once a week. As long as that's another thing comes down to if the tank's big enough. Because if it's too small, then obviously you're going to have to be on your water changes more. But where these are like in a, well, it's not quite 8 foot, it's just shy of 8 foot, but an 8 foot tank. You know what I mean? And I mean the bio loads, it's not small on here. I mean there's 11 silver dollars in here, but and there's oh, what's the other one? Sunshine Plek L14. Yeah, there's one of them in now. But yeah, I've got that on there. I've got the Hydra Stream, and I've just got 2 canister filters on it. But I've got really good biomedia in there. In one I've got Substrat Pro, EIM Substrat Pro, and the other one I've got Biohome Ultimate, and oh, what's the other one? There's a bag of Seeker Matrix in there, and the JBL Micromech, which is a really, really good biomedia. I'll see someone who's got their own biomedia, who's in the UK, who's slagging it, basically saying that he don't see how it can be that porous and all that. But like I said, he's a salesman for. And don't get me wrong, the one he sells is good. It is good quality media, but I still prefer. I'll stick to out of everything. If I could only have one biomedia, it would be EIM Substrat Pro, and then I'll have things like Biohome and all that afterwards. But yeah, the EIM, it don't break down. You know what I mean. Mind you saying that the Substrat, the what's it called? Don't either really. The Biohome, to be fair, the Biohome Ultimate, but it's expensive for what it is. Yeah, it's like and apart from that, it's the only place where you have to buy it by the kilo. Everywhere else sells it by the litre in the UK. Yeah, so I buy the EIM Substrat Pro. I can get that for £5 for a litre through from someone on eBay. Well, who used to be on eBay, they're not on there anymore. But they sell all the when you buy certain EIM filters, they come with the media. Yeah, when you buy the bigger ones, they don't. But when you get like the Pro 4s and all that, they come with the and like the EIM Echoes and that, they come with them little bags, the cellophane bags with Substrat Pro and what's the other one? Something Mech, EIM Mech or whatever it is. But and basically it was all the bags that come with them. So I don't know how he was getting them and that, but it was them bags, that 1 litre bags, and I get them for £5 a litre. So like I said, I put them in all my filters. It never breaks down. I put them bacteria balls in there, the EA Evolution Aqua Bio live bacteria balls. But I use the pond ones because you just get so much more out of it. But yeah, they're a blinding fish. They're not really seen that often in the hobby. There is, I mean, you can get them if you're willing to pay proper money for them, but they are expensive, and a lot of people don't like buying them because they've got such a bad rap for being so, you know what I mean, fragile and, you know what I mean, dying easy and that. But it's more people just not knowing what they're doing with them than anything, and getting advice off of people who really shouldn't be giving that advice. I see, like, I've stopped doing it before. I used to pull people on their videos and that, saying like you shouldn't be saying that to people and all that. It's like when people do, you know what I mean, care guide videos for fish, where they've had the fish for like 2 minutes, and then because they've spawned once, you know what I mean, they're suddenly an expert on the species. But I mean, I'm still quite new to the hobby. I mean, in total, I've probably kept fish probably about 11 years, but that's including this time, which has been, what, 4 years nearly now. And before was when I was a kid, from when I was like probably 8 or 9. I had Oscars, bred them when I was about 10. And then I bred Firemouths, Honduran, Red Points, all the usual sort of, you know what I mean, commonly available stuff. But yeah, I got back into the hobby about 4 years ago, and I bought Beaneye. They were one of the first, you know what I mean, fish that I looked for and managed to get hold of. I got the San Pedros, but yeah, again, I lost 3 out of the 10, and then what I've done was I went and sold them, and then because I scared myself out of keeping them. So I thought, oh, I don't want to lose them all. But knowing what I know now, I wouldn't have done it. It's because I was moving them about. And apart from that, I was keeping them in tap water. That was the wrong parameters for them anyway. So, but yeah, sorry for the long video this time, but cheers.